Hey guys, really quick video. I don't know if it's going to be quick or not, but I just want to talk about something really quick that through my own studies this morning, I feel like it's just a message that I need to put out to people. Anybody who wants to hear it, if I can lift somebody up through the trenches, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And this is just something that I find that is just so extremely important sometimes when we're trapped in our own mind and it's really hard for us to push forward. This is something that has drastically changed my life. And when we start to recognize that we aren't our own mind and that we can actually change the way that we perceive the world, that was a huge eye-opening experience for me. And I began to actually be able to start changing my environment. And that's what really helped me pull myself out of the trenches. And one thing that a lot of people believe about themselves is that they are their own mind, their thoughts, whatever it is that how they act, how they feel in certain situations. They just believe that it's them and that this is just how I am. And that doesn't really give the zest of wanting to change any of that because they just truly believe that that's who they are. And through the awakening process, and this is called the awakening process because you actually start to realize that your brain is just an operating system. It's like a computer. And when you're using a computer, you have an operator. And anything that you're putting into the computer system, the computer will use that information and put out an input or an output. Your brain is a lot the same. So when you're creating these systems and these operations in your brain, a lot of them have been created since your childhood. And a lot of it is just completely out of your control. When we're children, whatever we're exposed to, the environment that we're exposed to, our parents, how they raised us, everything falls under how our operating system works. And so as we get older, the way that we respond to things, the way that we perceive things, the way that we act, the way that we feel in certain situations are usually how we feel like is out of our control, but it's because they're just being triggered by our own operation system. And when people start to realize that they have the opportunity to change their operating system and actually change how they react in certain situations, and they can change their environment, the people that they're drawn to, the people that they hang out with, everything factors in to how your brain perceives things and operates. And so when you start to change your environment, you have a person up here. And I personally believe it's your soul. It's yourself. It's the person observing your thoughts. It's the person that's observing your mind. And when you start to realize that there's an observer, that you aren't that, you are the one observing, then you recognize that there's just two separate components to your brain and who you are. And when you realize that when you are observing your own mind, you can disassociate yourself from that and you can actually start to change the way that your mind operates. So when you feel like you are consumed by your own brain and you feel like you are your brain, then you operate based on your brain and your brain operates you. But when you can separate yourself from your brain, observe your thoughts, observe your actions, your emotions, observe how you are in certain situations. If somebody does something, how does it make you feel? Those are the things that you should be observing. And you can actually start to fix those things because you now can become the operator of your own brain and change the system and the wiring of how things were created from childhood. And it's unfortunate that a lot of our operating system is created as a child when we don't really have this understanding of this concept. And so once we get older and we can actually understand this concept, it's a lot harder for us to change those habits because once you create those neural connections, the more those connections connect, you actually strengthen those connections. So when you're trying to create a new connection, the more superior connection is always going to come into play first, but it takes mental discipline. It takes mental conscious effort to opt out and go towards the other connection that you're trying to create. And the more you try to do that, you weaken the other connection, and you're able to actually start strengthening the new connection and start strengthening new habits for yourself and new ways of thinking. It's not, we all have negative thoughts. We all have negative emotions. That's just human nature. They're there as a way to teach us about our environment and what we need to recognize. But when we actually start to change our environment as well, because our brain has a beautiful way of connecting in almost a symbiotic way with other people when we're connecting with them. And so if we're surrounding ourselves in a toxic environment, we are syncing our own mind up with other people who are stuck in that really toxic environment. And so we just keep ourselves down. And the way to get out of that is by changing your environment. And sometimes it's really hard to let go of people who are not serving us and who are bringing us down. And a lot of times those people, because they're stuck in their own ways, if they see you doing good, ultimately they kind of want to bring you back down because they want you, it's hard for them to see you doing well when they can't accomplish that for themselves. And it's okay to let those people go. It's okay, even if they're family, whatever it is that's creating a bad atmosphere for yourself, you have to change your environment. You have to change the people that you hang out with, because that's what helps create these new connections, these new belief systems. You start to see the world from a new perspective. So when you're surrounding yourselves around toxic behavior and a toxic environment, something that doesn't motivate you, something that doesn't make you feel like you want to be bigger and grow more, that is where you will consistently bring yourself down. So I would challenge anybody who is going through a hard time to pick up some personal development books or listen to some podcasts that really help you understand the way that the mind works. Because when we are stuck in these mindsets, we are not the operator anymore. We are just operating from our own operating system. And a lot of these times, these are just patterns that have been created from our environment. And so it's important to be able to say, I am the person who is the creator of my own environment, and I'm going to change this. It takes persistence, it takes discipline, and it's something that you're always going to fail at. You're never going to be perfect at it because it's not comfortable. It's not something that people love doing. But once you actually create these things, you create a system, you create a new operating system for yourself, which then in turn becomes automatic. And so create routines for yourself. If you can't surround yourself around amazing people because you're just kind of stuck in a certain environment that it's hard for you to get out of, then go listen to people who are going to uplift you, who motivate you, who inspire you, who you look up to. Listen to those videos often, read the books, and that helps you to build your own interpersonal strength and self-love for yourself, because then you start to recognize that you are the creator of your own reality and that you are not a victim anymore, because it's not the world happening to you, it's happening for you to recognize what it is that you need to shift within yourself. Any type of negative feelings that you have, those are just paths and directions that tell you what to take in order to feel better or what's not serving you. So these are just things that, I know I'm going off on a tangent, but I really feel like there's some people out there who really need to hear this message. And I'm going to do a couple more, I'm just going to, I really want to serve people. It's not about getting famous for me. It's not about any of that kind of stuff. I truly am going through my own personal journey. There's a lot of things that I'm struggling with that I go up and down on, and that's just human nature. I mean, I'm going to fully own up to that aspect, but I also too want to just let people know that that there is a different perspective to life, and that a lot of the times when we are hurting inside, we project that out to the world. But it's being able to surround yourself in an environment that you love and what empowers you and makes you want to be the person that you truly are inside, which is key in changing your perspective of how you see the world. because once you start to focus on certain things, that's what your environment will start pulling towards you. And so it's important to change your focus and change the thoughts that are in your mind, because that's where you will attract the environment that surrounds you. So you have control over that. You are not the victim. You are the operator. And so you have the choice today to change that operating system. Bye, guys.